YouTube, what the crap's going on? The Slayer King welcomes you to another Total War Warhammer 2 online battle. Now, some of you may have seen my latest schedule. This video is actually a day late. This is a viewer-submitted online battle. These now take place on Monday. But I missed Monday because I had a really long day at work and wasn't able to get this done previously on Sunday. So I'm giving it to you a day late, but you still get it anyway. Yes, I've got Ungram Iron Fist with me here, folks, and he's leading HeirofCarthage's forces, and I will show you those forces. We've got Ungram and 3 Trollhammer Torpedoes. This is going to be interesting. 2 warriors with great weapons on the flanks, standard warriors, and then up front, 2 regular Iron Breakers, Norgrimling's Iron Breakers, and then 2 Giant Slayers in the back. Let me speed up my camera just a bit. We're going to swing over and take a look. They are fighting the Lizardmen. Now, the Lizardmen are led by a Saurus Oldblood, who's on foot. Interesting. Not a bad choice versus dwarves, but not necessarily great either, per se. He's got a Chameleon Skink, 2 Cold One Riders with just an armor-piercing cavalry unit. Not a bad choice versus the dwarves by any means. And then we've got a bunch of Saurus warriors. There's 4 in total. Make that 5, my bad. 5 Saurus warriors, and then he's got a couple of skink cohorts mixed in. There's 2 Croxagores. There's a Feral Bastillodon. We've got a Bastillodon with Revivification Crystal, and also a Skink Priest, Lord of Heavens. And I'm guessing probably Curse of the Midnight Wind here. Yep, Curse of the Midnight Wind. Not a bad choice. But yeah, Saurus Oldblood on foot. I mean, sure, you can bring them against the dwarves. I'm not sure of the purpose, though, because with the dwarves, it usually pays dividends to be able to just slam through their lines and kill all their skirmishers, because usually if you can deal with dwarf skirmishers, you can deal with the rest of their troops. Now, these Cold One Riders are going to just plow right into the dwarf warriors. They will cause decent damage, but they sure don't want to be around long enough for these Giant Slayers to get involved, because the Giant Slayers are going to lay waste to the Cold One Riders, so they're going to take off. Over here on this flank, they've met some similar success with the help of the Chameleon Skinks. Yeah, Cold One Rider's not a particularly fast unit, especially with these woods here, and they're going to pay a bit of a price there. Not a huge price, but they're going to pay a price. Let's look at the main line engagement here. You can see the Iron Breakers just absolutely devastating the main lines, and the Trollhammer Torpedoes have already opened up on the enemy Lord. But the Lord is not a large target. Trollhammer Torpedoes are really honestly kind of wasted on anything besides a target with a large hitbox. I personally would have been targeting that Feral Bastillodon. You can see that these warriors with great weapons here do manage to stop these 2 units, if only for a moment. And the Lizardman player is very, very mistaken here in the fact that this Bastillodon has not continued on straight into these Trollhammers, because now look what happens when they start getting a volley. He's already gone berserk. And just look at the damage mount, how quickly Trollhammer Torpedoes in numbers can put an end to an enemy large unit. That's why I said target the large unit. They don't miss, and all of their damage hits home, and they can fire without being obstructed. So that Feral Bastillodon just gets absolutely destroyed. Now at this point you can see that the dwarves are taking a few losses in the front line, and these Cold One Riders are now coming in here. And I would say that there is a huge problem for the dwarf player, because all of his damage potential is wrapped up in these 3 units, which just got caught. Now fortunately he did get some Giant Slayers free. They're hit by Curse of the Midnight Wind. And the charges on these Trollhammer Torpedoes were not great. They weren't great. So, fortunately for them, they're going to be alive, and you can see they're on defensive mode. You always set them to that, which means they can continue firing. You can see they help get rid of these Cold One Spear Riders even faster. And here the Bastillodon actually kind of interrupts the charge. And I just, again, very fortuitous for the HeirofCarthage player. Now you can see Ungram just being Ungram, holding the main line because he's unbreakable. He's really good at that. And the Giant Slayers now coming in from both flanks, and they are going to lay waste with their armor piercing. They're going to just do tremendous work against these Lizardman units that are all large and armored. So this is going to be a heyday for the Giant Slayers. You can see that the Bastillodon continues to go for its target, but you can see the dwarf player here working to pull these Trollhammer Torpedoes free, and then getting another angle to go after that Bastillodon. So even though it looked grim and potentially over for his army, he's continuing to fight regardless, and getting the Trollhammers out of there. Now, but the mainline fight's not going well for the dwarves. They are mostly overwhelmed. The Norgrimling's Iron Breakers are tough, and to their credit, they're holding up about as well as can be expected. They've managed to work down a couple of Saurus warriors. But there are Kroxigors and Skink cohorts and a Skink Priest who are all managing to push through. But you can see there the Trollhammer torpedoes got free. All it took was a shot or two. And that Bastiladon Vivification Crystal is now ancient history, a fossil, if you will. The bad puns stack up. So there's another key Lizardmen unit down, and these Chameleon Skinks are now out of ammo, so they can't shoot. Some Saurus warriors did manage to get into combat here, but there are still Giant Slayers around, so they won't be having great success here. So the hunt for the Trollhammer torpedoes will continue for the Lizardmen, who have still managed to not pin them down. The Kroxigors just went berserk over there too, so this Kroxigor remains in his control, and there's some more Saurus warriors that could potentially try and pin these units down, as well as the Chameleon Skinks. In melee, the dwarfs have a couple of units that they have not regrouped back to combat just yet. And then Ungrim is starting to take a beating up front at the hands of all these Saurus warriors and the Saurus Old Blood. Definitely tough customers. That Norgrimling's Iron Breaker holding out valiantly. The Trollhammer torpedoes get free again, and they begin to launch their attacks. Right now they're targeted on the Kroxigors, which is a great target for them, but the Kroxigor is kind of split up. Part of its unit's over here, part of it's over here, so it's not going to be as effective as it would normally be, but still a good target. This Kroxigor unit charges in and gets all blobbed up right here. Actually makes it an excellent target for the Trollhammer torpedoes. But you can see that the target right now that's being focused is the Lizardman Lord. Again, I understand this choice by the dwarves, but he's just not a great target for it because he's hard to hit and you miss a lot, when in fact he could just be doing tremendous damage to the Kroxigors. These Giant Slayers have done amazing work in keeping these Lizardmen units away from the Trollhammer torpedoes, and you can see here that they're obstructed. They can't even fire at the moment on the Lizardman Lord, who is going to rout fortuitously. Ungrim's unbreakable nature coming in very handy there. But again, with these berserking Kroxigors, they are now the target. Or actually, no, it's still the enemy Lord. But some of the stray shots hit the Kroxigor there. Let's see, I think they're going to take another volley at the enemy Lord. They are. Just watch the way they hit. See how most of them are missing? And they're just not getting a whole bunch of their damage. But these bigger units that don't get staggered, like the Bastiladons and stuff, that's why they're such a good target for the Trollhammer torpedoes. They're not staggering, and they just sit there and absorb all the damage. And it is massive armor-piercing damage. You can see the Kroxigors now targeted, and they will drop pretty quickly. So the Lizardmen still unable to put an end to these Trollhammer torpedoes, which are just absolutely destroying all the units of Lizardmen one by one. The Lizardmen's attack would have needed to be much more coordinated. He needed to bring infantry around the flanks in order to tie down the Giant Slayers, and then he would have needed to commit both Bastiladons and both Cold One Riders in order to bring down the Trollhammer torpedoes. Not an easy job, especially if the dwarf is trying to stop him, but that's how it would have had to have worked. Would have had to have distracted those units successfully in order to pull this off. This Skink Priest is out of his league here. He picked a fight with Ungrim because Ungrim had low hit points, but yeah. You're a Skink Priest. Look at one hit did there, that Skink Priest. One hit, two hits. Yeah, he's had enough. He's out of here. Ungrim didn't even take any damage. So don't get fooled when you see Ungrim at low health like that. Skink Priest isn't going to cut it, literally. It's going to take a lot more than that. These Kroxigors do go in for a heroic last stand to try and kill the Trollhammers, but it's too late. And despite them getting some damage done on a couple of these Dawi, they themselves are bound to rout. They won't be able to stay in the fight, and Karak Kadrin pulls out an impressive victory. I don't know how they kept 3 Trollhammer torpedoes alive. It obviously took a few mistakes on the part of the Lizardman player, which I'm not saying that to be mean. I mean, that's what happens. Typically, people in battle can do well because of the mistakes of others, and sometimes, obviously, it's because of their own skill, too. I mean, he definitely picked units that a Lizardman player who's depending on large units, which a lot of times the Lizardmen do, because the Lizardmen don't have a good anti-armor infantry. Temple Guards are pretty pathetic in terms of their payback as far as being an anti-armor infantry. And Saurus warriors, not bad, but not really meant to cut through heavily armored dwarves. And so it makes this tricky for him to bring an all-infantry build, potentially. And when he brings these large targets, I mean, that's exactly what the Trollhammers thrive on. And all it takes is 1 second to get in range, and they can just decimate, like a Bastillodon, for instance. And when you start losing units like that as a Lizardman, you lose a lot of your leverage. So again, I think what it would have taken is a coordinated attack from the Chameleon Skinks, the 2 Cold One Riders, and the Feral Bastillodons. Honestly, the Croxigores probably should have been involved as well. The front line could have been held for a long time by 5 Saurus warriors. And if you look at the Dwarf Infantry here, the 3 Iron Breakers, so put a Saurus warrior on each. And then, again, you'd be tying down, here's your 2 extra Saurus warriors, and then your 2 Skink units, and then that leaves all the other units free to go smash the Trollhammer torpedoes. Send your 2 Bastillodons and your Croxigores straight through the front line and into the Trollhammers, and then bring your 2 Spear Riders in from behind. But again, you'd have to make sure... Oh, sorry, I forgot to talk about 2. You'd have to cover the Giant Slayer, so maybe that's where you throw one of your Saurus warriors or whatever to just pin down the Giant Slayers. Your front line would start to fall apart fast. The key is you'd have to get in there quickly and destroy the Trollhammer torpedoes while avoiding taking a devastating volley. Not easily done, but that's how you'd have to do it. Anyway, hope y'all enjoyed that one. Appreciate it being submitted. Remember, I do a viewer-submitted online battle replay video, at least one, every Monday. So feel free to submit yours to airtotalwar@gmail.com. So if you think you've got a good replay, take that replay file, attach it to an email, send it to airtotalwar@gmail.com, and you might get featured in the what should have been Monday online viewer battle replay. Obviously, you're seeing it on a Tuesday, but that's okay. Like I said, a day late, still trying to bring it to you. I will see you next time. HeirofCarthage signing out. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, because there will be more. I will see you then.